Yeah, I mean, they have very onerous contracts where we have to promise to give back every document. And we usually, the only thing we really do is modify, because half the time they can't find what we did for them, so we modify to keep one copy. But we have a validated file system where they can have access, so they have full access to their documentation. Actually, a lot of the little companies ask us to be their repository for their trial documents. The thing that's, if you're not in life science now, the dynamic has really changed, where life science companies, as a startup, they really don't ever think of themselves as developing a product to commercialization. It's too expensive. So they want to develop the product to acquisition. And often the people who are in the startup really don't understand the real fine details about how that should work. So we're the driver to set it up so that it's acquirable. And we do a lot of due diligence projects where we're actually helping on both the buy and the sell side to make sure that they really have things all organized from the beginning so that the due diligence process goes well. So we just use a commercial product with, the appropriate level of security, and nobody's ever complained. And they can, we'll transfer everything at the end, but often the clients, until they're actually acquired by a big pharma or a big device company, they don't really go away. We're their development team for years. So they actually come to us to see where things are put, rather than worry about whether they're safe. We actually have a fair number of clients who aren't in Massachusetts. It's probably 35% of our revenue, and they're spread all over the country. We have a pocket in the Chicago area. They're scattered all over the southern tier. If this woman's going to move anyway, I look at, and she's going to bear the cost of the move. The only way we can be able to even look to acquire additional clients is to have at least a presence where the network can be grown. So we would do it, I think we would do it anyway, because there's a lot of cross-fertilization between the two coasts. It would just be a little bit faster, and then we would keep somebody, and she hasn't brought this up, we would keep somebody who is a real superstar and able to kind of have her expand what she's doing so that she would be basically based there. So it's a bit of a opportunistic, as I said, less strategic than opportunistic. And I don't know, it just feels like if we're there and there's a reason for us to be there, it's gonna, even if it's 10% of our client base, it's gonna grow. I would have to replicate myself on the West Coast at some point. And we have that in our 3-year plan, is to bring another more senior person on or promote someone into that senior role. She has both an industry background and a consulting background. She was an independent consultant for 9 years, which is really what makes her strong, because she really understands what she needs to do to propose a project and then to staff the project and make it profitable. There isn't anybody else in the company who has that same skill set. So for her to say she's really interested is a really big reason. She's really good at networking. She's not as good at breaking into new ground. There are a couple of key channels that we use to expand our business. We're underwriters for a media company that we're kind of following. They opened a new outlet in San Francisco, so they give us a year's lead time as to what their events are going to be, and we can sponsor them and get some headline, which is actually how we broke into the market here. It's actually relationship-based, but it's geographically more challenging than Boston and Massachusetts, because the biotech companies are either on the peninsula, they're in the East Bay, or up in Marin. There's almost nothing in the city. So what ends up happening is we work with a company, and the company that we're working with now is on the peninsula. people leave that company and go out and start all little new companies. So if we're there and they know us, that's how we get referrals. I don't know many people in the East Bay, but the woman who lives in Reno worked at Chiron, which is in the East Bay, or it's now something else. And I have another good contact in Marin, but I don't underestimate the challenges of trying to do that, because it's going to be triply as resource intensive. If we start, but that said, there's more than double the companies here, and we barely scratched the surface here. So I'm thinking it's going to be 3 or 4 years before we actually start to get referrals, but until then we'd have to work at it. I want to take a much deeper dive using some of the input from this meeting to think through what the plan and the timing would be, versus just jumping into it. And we've really just started talking about it. So this was the reason I brought it up. It's the perfect time to do it. If we took the next 8 months and did some planning, I think it would probably go much more smoothly.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you.